Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome back to our subscriber game tournament as we continue round 2 with match 7 by Modu Chanyu in the red, assaulting our Hulao Gate Pass for round 2. And this is the first army that we have seen so far who did not take a strategist and did not take any siege weapons. He is going to rely entirely on the infantry assault at the walls, and this is a very interesting take on this battle. I think people have asked whether this was viable. And personally, I think it is viable, but only for certain types of army composition, which I'll mention at the end of this video. Not trying to spoil anything, because perhaps he's bringing the right type. I'm just gonna save what I think is the correct choice a bit later. The army composition is led by Cao Cao, Xu Huang, and Sun Jian. And if you look at this composition, one thing that comes to mind, or at least for me, when I was doing this battle with him, is immediately I identified his strategy is that he intends to use two unbreakable generals who both have Flame of the Phoenix to climb the walls and annihilate my units on the walls with them. And not only do they have Flame of the Phoenix, which only has 30-second cooldown, they also brought Cao Cao, and Cao Cao has a unique skill called Impervious Presence, which means every 1 second, or technically every 5, but it will tick for the first second. It will reduce your cooldown by 5 seconds, and then there's a cooldown 4 seconds, so every 5 seconds you will reduce your cooldown by 5 seconds. So essentially you're reducing your cooldown twice as fast, if you want to think about it. But it's technically even faster than that because the last tick happens on the first second of the last set, so instead of waiting for, say, 15 seconds to get your cooldown back here, you will get it back at the 11th second, I think, because if you think about it, the first second, the cooldown goes to 25 immediately, and then the normal 5-second ticks through, you're at 20 seconds, then, technically you're only on the 6th second, and then you're now down to 10, and then on the 11th second, you have it back. So instead of a 30-second cooldown, Flame of the Phoenix is going to be technically 11-second cooldown, but you have to tack on the duration, right? So the cooldown doesn't start ticking until the duration happens. So instead of 40-second cooldowns in between Flame of the Phoenix usage, we're talking about 21-second cooldown. So pretty significant reduction in terms of how fast you can put out Flame of the Phoenix. And with that splash effect on the wall, you can annihilate elite infantry quite fast. Not only that, Xu Huang makes up for Sun Jian's lack of a roar, but because he's missing the roar, he actually can give his unit impetuous charge, which is actually super useful for scaling walls. So this is pretty well thought out because you will lose fatigue when you climb walls. You will instantly become tired. And in the game, if you are tired, you will lose morale, you will lose attack rate, and you lose evasion, I believe. So core stats will be gone for combat. So your units will be a lot weaker at that point. And if you use Impetuous Charge before you start climbing for the next 30 seconds, you will not gain any fatigue. So you'll be safe from your fatigue loss. So this is not used for any sort of melee charge bonus or mass, because that's usually used for cavalry, but this is used to counteract the fact that climbing wall will disadvantage his units. So very excellent plan here. And of course, with Cao Cao as a support character, he can also boost everyone's evasion once they get on the wall. The only thing this army is missing, in my opinion, which is actually quite crucial, is there is no counter arrow damage. And the only arrow damage we're talking about clearly are the towers. Because Cao Cao, unfortunately, does not have the ability to block out 100% range block chance. So his units will have to suffer through my towers on the approach. Now, whether this will be enough to kill all of them, of course not. Of course, they will take some damage, but whether that's significant or not, we'll see, especially since he's planning to use his generals to scale the walls, which is how I read the situation when we loaded in. And he was kindly enough to put both generals on the field for me to see. So that became a little bit obvious right off the bat. He did bring quite a bit of very excellent unit, 6 unit of Protector of Heaven, 4 units of the Qingzhou Assault Infantry. I actually quite like the Qingzhou Assault Infantry in general because they are purple or melee infantry unit. They have very high damage to begin with, and when you have misplaced devotion, which is quite easily triggered on these units, they will double their damage base, and that's actually a huge damage output, 44, 58, with 24 attack speed, and they will be unbreakable, able to dish out all the damage. They won't lose that much evasion anyways, so I actually like the Qingzhou unit overall for multiplayer, and even for campaign, they're quite nice. So they're guaranteed to finish the climb because of misplaced devotion for sure, and they have a decent amount of range block chance to charge up. Protective Heaven, despite having no shield, also have some range block chance, but they'll probably still take a bit of hit. All spear units in the back here to, maybe stop our generals from charging in, depending on how I micro the situation. But the thought process is there. He's focusing the attack on one side of the building. This is probably okay because he went with sort of a elite force, so not that many units, only talking about 10 units here, and he's hoping to use his general's abilities, synchronizing with each other to take me out on the wall, so he can really just focus on one area, just so the overlapping ability will activate on all his units. So let's see how this plan works out, and also see how I try to counter it, because it was pretty easily identified, I think. My units were placed directly on the wall at the beginning because I saw he has no generals that can supply siege weapons, so there will be no wall destruction. He's focusing on one side. I'm charging out right away because these guys are not capable of knocking me off my horse, so I can just rush up and quickly use the Dragon's Gaze. He also have no strategist, but just because you have no strategist does not mean I want to venture my general into 3 enemy generals. That is suicide. So I'm going to pull back and let his generals tank out some arrow because they will be drawn into the tower's range before some of the units, and he will have to back off. I'm going to prod and poke and micro around. I do not want to actually engage his generals. You never want to fight 1v3. Doesn't matter if you're a Lu. So you can see the micro has stopped, right? He's trying to micro his generals, kind of normal. I only have to micro one thing, so it's a little bit easier for me. He has to try to coordinate all his units, try to use his abilities on the time, and we'll see what he tried to do. But clearly, I have already preset the response. I even dragged out the unit so they only occupy one half of the wall, you can kind of see. And I didn't put anyone in this area because it's not climbable, so I know I'm fine. So at least every single piece of wall that's climbable, I have someone there waiting. Alright, so I pulled away over here with my cavalry to scare him away, because he's not going to charge into my cavalry. He's scared of losing his unit like that. So I wasn't able to do a Dragon's Gaze to stop him from, advancing. But perhaps I still have an opportunity, because he's now microing his unit, You only have one mouth to control things. And he's trying to set up a climb, I guess? Nope, he couldn't really get the chance to. I'm here, and I'm going to Dragon Gaze, and then immediately run back inside, because I'm safe. And he can't really follow me. So I snuck back in without losing too much. He's trying to boost their evasion. That's not going to help against arrows. So I now have 30 seconds of nice free hitting with them losing a bit of stats. That's not really relevant for arrow damage, but still, they're just basically trapped here with me. And then I'm going to wait it out and try to go back out when I can to halt, slow them down, prod them, make things more difficult for them, because I know exactly what they're trying to do. There's no mysteries when I see all your units. They just can't move. They're on timeout. Now they can. And you also, the game's not going to tell you when you can move. You have to micro them. He's just trying to get all his unit on the walls. They're starting to climb. He did not use his ability. This was huge, I think. He started the climb before he activated it, which means you can see they're fresh. By the time the unit, you see that? By the time they make it up the wall, they'll become tired. And that's huge. So Sun Jian made a move here, dismounted, and this was pretty clear to me that this was going to happen. So Xu Huang's also climbing on this side. Actually not, he hasn't dismounted it. But Sun Jian's coming up, I boost the evasion, and immediately Lu Bu's gonna come answer. Now my units are not that densely placed around him because I stretch it out decently, but you can see that single smash still did plenty of damage, and Lu Bu immediately is going to go target him. Now I don't know why he came down to fight me. That is suicide. But immediately I dismounted. I was ready to go up, stop their general from doing more damage to us, because the cooldowns are going to come pretty fast. Now, Xu Huang's kind of disjointed here, coming in a little bit late. And you can see the fatigue, even on the generals. He smashed me. You see the cooldown's back right away. But you can see he's fatigued too. I don't think that Modu Chanyu recognized what he had on his hand. Like, bring this impetuous charge was really smart. Maybe he had this planned, but he forgot about it, or maybe he didn't have it planned, it just happens he brought Sun Jian. But regardless, he really lost a key trump card there. You can see immediate tired after you climb walls, and his units are just not going to do as well as my units, you know, once he's fatigued like that. And right now, immediately he's still slamming really hard on my unit. This camp pressure is just taking a beating, but I need to stop them, and I can stop them because I have better stats. I have more boost on my side for this battle. So Cao Cao boosted the melee evasion right there. That turned the tide a little bit, but it's a little bit too late. It's a little bit too late. He already lost way too much health. And you can see he's actually running away, which is actually pretty interesting. I mean, he can. I'm really not going to chase. Most of my units are on guard mode. He was able to wipe out. Now, he used this now, Impetuous Charge. I think it's a little late. He's still slamming. I can't really kill him during this 100% melee evasion, but once that's over, we should probably be able to kill him. The Camp Crusher is dead, by the way. But now the reverse is true. I have a slam. I have a Dragon's Gaze. They're stuck with me on the wall, and I can kill them. His units here, without the supporter general, has lost to mine. No surprise, because of the fatigue factor being a huge deal. And they're just on timeout. They can't move because Dragon Gaze. They can't move because Dragon Gaze. They can't move because Dragon Gaze. And I'm going to just work my way inside and slam them when I have the cooldown ready. I'm not so worried about the other walls because, you know, the advantage that we have. Zhao Nao has a roar. Cao Cao is having the same issue as Yuan Shao has sometimes, where you're trying to play the supportive role and you end up not throwing yourself in combat, which is a huge mistake. Cao Cao is actually a lot stronger than Yuan Shao in combat, and his ability does not require him to be out of melee. So Cao Cao should have probably joined in the climb, but I think the biggest mistake in this battle is Sun Jian didn't use his Impetuous Charge. And every unit that climbed up lost. You can see the fatigueness just changing colors as they climb, and that's going to do them in. Alright, so I'm climbing up on the horse because I now know he's engaged every single one of his infantry, and Cao Cao is just sitting right here by himself, and we can go kill him. He has no help, and he's not going to be, you know, my cavalry's even here, and we're able to get some work done on him because he does not have any splash abilities either. He's trying to pull his units. This is also a big mistake, to stop the climb halfway. You can see a couple of them just turning around now. They're just jumping off now. The whole unit's going to jump off, including the ones that already made it on the wall. And that's just going to get them, you know, hurt as my units are still trying to kill them. I freeze them now. And Cao Cao is still going to die. He's the only one who can move. And this is just a really, really brutal fight on the wall. And given that my units are fresh and his are not, and getting pulled up and down the wall, and, you know, I just pull back. I saw his units came down. I'm just like, okay, I got my job done. I go back. I'm trying to reduce casualty counts at this point because I know I'm going to win. And we're just going to let the towers do this job. Cao Cao can't do much. If he wants to come up, he can fight us on the wall. And the cavalry, I really should just pull the cavalry back. I think they got caught in some melee. Like one unit touched one unit and didn't want to go back. I'm just like, get back, get back. Friendly fire is a thing. Cao Cao's climbing, last ditch effort. And I think I should be pulling the units if I want to reduce casualties. And then just let the generals go finish. Although Lu Bu doesn't want to die. Cao Cao's sword is really good. Good attack speed. So that's why, you know, the ability doesn't require you to be out of combat. So you probably shouldn't, like, even less reason to use him like Yuan Shao, where he just stands there and boosts. Yeah, he's getting a little bit too many kills. I should have, in hindsight, moved everyone away and then just sent the generals up to kill him. Because right now my tower is probably doing more damage to my units than his units, even though I think there's still a good cluster of them trying to get away. But you can see that my camp crushers are still fighting here, and we're just doing massive amount of splash damage on him. But Cao Cao's hard to kill. But Modu Chanyu wants to die like a man, I think. He's trying to send Cao Cao over. I had enough. Now it's going up there. Yeah, I'm kind of worried about letting Lu Bu die here, because that would give him 60 kills, and that would just not be smart. We had this unit in reserve the whole time. They're coming to check out the show. Front row seat to seeing Cao Cao die. Yeah, he's getting free kills here. He's getting shot by the tower. That was a pretty accurate shot to the neck. Zhao Nao's coming. Zhao Nao's coming. Everyone should just back off. Zhao Nao's here. Zhao Nao's here. Those are his, I think, routing units that I was hitting at. But now it's the duel, and we'll make pretty quick work of him. Yeah, there's still a couple of routing units that we're catching the attention to. Cao Cao gets a few more kills there, and that's it. Ooh, a brutal execution there. That should give us the win. Yeah. So that was a very brutal assault without siege weapons. Highly do not advise the situation. And as promised at the beginning, you can do this. It's entirely doable, but not with the units he had. The problem is he did not bring any unit that can turtle formation. The solution against towers, as I have debated a few people in the comment section, is this is not scary, because I cannot control who the tower shoots. It's auto-targeting. I cannot redirect the target, and the tower will pick up the first unit within their range, including turtle units, which are completely protected from tower fire. So the only thing you do is have one turtle unit in your army and march that turtle unit within all the tower range. So this one, this one, this one, this one, if you're attacking on this side, just park it right here. Do not move it for the entirety of the fight, and you will not get damaged at all by any of the towers. And because there was no turtle unit, the problem was the tower just picked on whoever showed up and got some kills. Not too many. I mean, I don't think the towers did most of the damage. Most of the damage happened on the wall. Lu Bu got a decent amount of kills here, just like Xu Huang and Sun Jian was able to kill off my camp crusher on this side as well. The ability usage on the walls, very deadly. And that's clearly what Modu Train was trying to do. He was trying to rush up his general on the wall and start smashing my units if I don't respond. And I talked to him about this during the battle and after the battle too, of why he was the first one to not bring siege weapons. And he mentioned that he tested out siege weapons against the AI to practice this round. And he found that this type of composition got the job done faster for him against the AI. And the main reason why that happened was the AI will never dismount their generals to answer on the wall. So in that case, either I don't defend the wall, or he goes up and smash them really quick. 21 second smash, 21 second smash, every unit's going to die. And then they flood inside. You either end up with a huge kill count, or you get a pretty quick win. Unfortunately, I'm not the AI. So when I see that, I'm going to answer with my generals. They're going to pop on the wall. They're going to go out, try to freeze your units because you have no stifling deluge to stop me from using any of my abilities. I'm not scared of your generals. I can always kite away. You have no way to tank up towers, because if he had a turtle formation in place, then he could chase Lu Bu around, right? Because then those towers would be busy shooting at that turtle unit instead of redirecting fire at the generals and whatever is charging. Because towers are not smart. Towers just pick up a target. If the target's still alive, they just keep shooting. So that's really the only piece that was missing, aside from a couple misplays without using impetuous charge to make sure his units do not get fatigued from climbing walls. That is a killer. The attack rate decrease is actually pretty significant. Losing evasion, losing attack rate is really going to doom you, especially since you're fighting against camp crushers. That's boosted by Zhang Dao's bonus, which gives them about 20 points of attack speed versus their normal 15. That's usually their weakness. But with 20 attack speed with splash, you're going to do pretty well on the walls. So with that said, let's see how much damage was done, because Modu Train actually was able to kill off a lot of units, routed the entire camp crusher, and it was bloody. So we'll see how things are. And of course, since Modu Chanyu was not able to win, he is going to allow our current second place, who is Soviet Bear, to lock his place up for round 3 or the round of 8 because there's not enough players that could eliminate him. So 2 players now have clinched for the round of 8. And Modu Chanyu, if we look at the numbers, 2 kills on the cavalry, not significant. 55 here, so 57, 58, but huge damage to Camp Crusher. So currently 58. This one is 73, so we're looking at 131. And then this one is 85, 131, 85. We're looking at 216. So Modu Chanyu will have killed 216 of my units. That would slot him currently in 5th, right behind all the successful attempts, and giving him a pretty good chance to advance with only, I believe, 6 matches to go. So hang on tight, and we'll find out if he will advance or not. And we'll see you guys in the next match. Until then, bye!